So the latest video that I put on my YouTube was actually the first cover that I posted online for everyone to see. And I had a lot of feedback on the level of the production. And it got me thinking, I was like, what does it take to make a good, high quality, professional cover on YouTube in 2020? So I've spoken to some of my peers, and today we're going to talk about what I think is the best way to do covers in 2020. Okay, before we get any further, I just want to mention that this is all my own opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's absolutely fine. I just want to say now that this is all my own opinion and not to be taken literally. There's no rule book for this. It's purely just my own philosophies on this. Okay, so that's the boring stuff over. Let's get into the first key thing. Okay, so one of the most important things in my opinion, before we think of any cover with any instrument, is what song? Do we want a hard song? Do we want a really easy song? Do we want a popular song? Now, although these are really important things, the question you should be asking is, do you enjoy the song? If you enjoy the song, that means you can enjoy playing it, you can enjoy recording it, which, you know, YouTube is an entertainment service. If you're enjoying it, then the chances are everyone else will as well. And obviously this is all down to what purpose you're trying to show. If you're trying to show a sense of professionalism, then if you're doing some kind of solo, kind of stick to some kind of musical rules rather than just making a mess. But if you're just trying to have some fun and you just want to share some skills that you've got, some chops you want to show, do whatever you like. Obviously, there's no rules for this. But I think if you're enjoying it, then the higher the chances that everyone else will enjoy it as well. So one of my peers, Ali Copping, he is probably the most entertaining drummer I've seen on YouTube. He puts so much effort into entertaining his audience, and he'll sing along to the song. I'll show it here. He'll sing along. It's stick movements, hand movements, something that I'm never going to be able to do, and I can't do very well. My drumming is much more kind of serious look, whereas he is definitely very kind of. He's much more of a live performer than I am. I'm much more of a kind of stick to a studio kind of guy. Even though I've played live many times, I definitely prefer in a recording studio than live. So the second reason is probably an obvious one, but you're gonna have to know how to play the song well. This may seem just so obvious, but the amount of times you'll see a drum cover and there's mistakes everywhere, it's out of time, it's not dynamically correct, it's all over the place. And it's kind of like when it's been recorded in a closed environment, what's the excuse to making this the best you could possibly be? If there's an audience, if you're live, whatever, we're all gonna make mistakes, we all make mistakes live, it's impossible to not. But when it's being filmed, there's not that anxiety there. So why can't it be as perfect as it can be? Obviously, it's still never going to be perfect. It's something that my mentality can't quite get over, is that, I've got to make these as perfect as possible, because if it's not perfect, then how can you learn from me? And that's one thing that is delaying the frequency of these videos. But you definitely need to make sure you can play the song well, otherwise you won't get respected as much. But yeah, definitely an important thing. Okay, so the third thing that I've put in this list is actually putting the level of your instrument, for example, drums, for example, why not? Putting the level of the drums louder than the original track. That way, one, we actually know if you are actually playing the drums and it is actually being recorded. And second of all, we can hear what you're playing, because sometimes visually, if you've got a lower frame rate or you're recording on a phone, you can't always see exactly what you're playing. So we need to be able to have it louder than the track for sure. This is something that I didn't do in the cover I did for Mad World. The drums were a little bit quiet, and you can kind of hear the original drums a bit louder than mine, which was a bit of a shame. So having the drums a little bit louder, even if it may reduce the sound quality and how it sounds, how that song actually sounds, it's worth it if the audience can actually hear what you're playing. thing I've got down is more kind of just, not a hygiene thing, but just kind of like, you know, how the room looks. You know, is your background nice and clean, or have you got drinking bottles or a bin or, you know, some like wrappers on the floor? If the environment isn't clean, it's going to distract. It's not going to look as nice. It's not going to look as appealing, and it's not going to look a professional cover. It's going to look like you've just kind of, you know, got your phone out and just kind of drummed to your phone. You know, if it looks professional and it looks clean, then, you know, the video and the cover will look loads better, and it'll, you know, the audience will like it more. And while we're on the topic, having multiple camera angles, make it more entertaining. If it's just this camera angle, looking at the drums, you can't see all of what I'm doing. It's kind of just still, and it's kind of dead, and it's in the center. I mean, it's aesthetically pleasing, nice and symmetrical, which I like, which is why I kind of film like this. You can't see everything I'm doing. So having 2 camera angles, or 3, or an overhead is a really good idea for recording covers like these. And if you've only got one DSLR, that's not a problem. Something that I've not really looked in, but one of my peers, George Griffith, one of his main camera angles is actually his phone. And you can't tell, once you've edited it in post, you can't tell there's an actual phone camera. You have got to be careful that when you're using a phone, that it doesn't wobble with the bass drum, which you can kind of get quite easily. But whether it's just maybe not playing the kick as loud, or maybe putting the phone on a more stable tripod with the right adapters. But yeah, recording your phone, definitely a go-to if you need some more camera angles, but you haven't got all the cameras. Another really important thing, which again I haven't really done when taking this YouTube channel on, is not being held back by your equipment. Like I just said, if you haven't got a DSLR, you know, use your phone, use, you know, your brother's phone, your mum's phone, something like that. You know, if you haven't got studio lights, use a desk lamp or something like that. Little things that has held me back from making lots more content. If you're more confident, then your audience will believe that, you know, that this cover is actually a really good cover, rather than having all the gear and still not really having all the confidence. As I've mentioned before, Ali Coppin, he did all his first covers solely on his phone, nothing else, and then he hadn't done a single gig in his life. Went to the director of a music college, showed him his covers, and he got in, and then 3 years later he's performing drums Isle of Wight Festival at the main stage. Where's the kind of excuse with the equipment? Okay, so one that I haven't actually had to take yet on this channel, but that is learning to take criticism. I've not had a single dislike or a bad comment yet on this channel, but it's gonna come sooner or later, and some more than others. I think covers, especially music, is one that can be disliked quite highly, especially as kind of a love or hate depending on the song. But learning to take that criticism is going to be a really important skill, and you kind of got to look up to it and just kind of, you know, be a bigger person and just kind of go, well, you know, they're just jealous, or, you know, I've played it, I'm proud of it. That's all that matters. And if you've managed to get, like Ali, if you've managed to get into, you know, your music college, then why listen to them? You know, and imagine now if, you know, I get a couple of dislikes on this video and a few bad comments, and I decide to give this entire thing up, and it's kind of like, right, well, what am I going to do with all this stuff that I've bought and all this stuff I've worked for if I'm going to just throw it all away? You know, what, 10 years experience, I'm just going to throw it away after a bad comment or some criticism. You know, kind of just got to stand up to it, be a bigger person, and you'll end up much better in the long run. And the final key point for making good covers is to just be original. You know, what makes you stand out? Why would someone watch you rather than someone else? You know, is it that you're more entertaining? Is it the songs that you're covering? Is it just style? Is it the sound of your? Is it the sound of your instrument? You know, what is it that will make people watch you? The more original you make yourself, and the more niche your covers are, it's going to draw more of a market, I suppose, to your videos rather than someone else. If you're covering lots of different ones, but only a few, but really diverse, you're not going to attract a specific audience. But if you're covering only 3 bands of the same genre, or just one band and all their songs, you're going to attract that audience that likes that band. It's the style of your drumming, like some certain fills or anything like that can make you stand out. And being original is really important because it'll make you stand out from the others. Okay, hopefully you found some of those points useful. If there's any that I've missed or any that are also really important, do just drop me a comment or message me on my social medias. And if you want to find out what kind of gear that I used for the cover that I used, I'll put a link down in the description, but also do check out the gear page on my website. There you can find everything that I've used for all my videos. Alright, that's all from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.